My name is Kevin Gill, and I'm one of the counselors in the Office of Career Preparation and Professional Development. And I'd like to introduce my colleague to you at this time.
Hey everybody, I'm Matt Skolnick. I'm the Assistant Director of Career Preparation and Professional Development. So we're excited to see all of you here and hopefully help you get prepared with your resumes. So I'll turn it over to Kevin now.
Okay, so without further ado, I brought up a PowerPoint presentation. Please let us know now if you're not able to see the PowerPoint. Just let us know, otherwise we'll assume everybody's able to see it. Okay, so as you can see, the title of our presentation is How to Make Your Resume Stand Out. And we always like to begin our workshops with what we refer to as learning outcomes. So there's a few of them here for you to take a look at. Number one, we want you to understand the basic components that need to be included in your resume, whether it's now or in the future. Also, what do we mean by key resume terms? That's another way of describing action verbs, which we'll get to later on in the presentation. And we'll give you some samples to help you begin. There are many, many resources that can assist you in creating your resume. And of course, one of the resources is Matt and myself, because in the end, we will be the ones that will be reviewing and, if necessary for your department, approving your resumes. As you can see, it does mention that for Accounting 362, you will need to have your resume approved. So once you're done with your resume, you can simply upload it to Handshake and explain what the resume is for. And either Matt or myself will get back to you with any edits that may be necessary at that time. If it's for Accounting 212, and if your professor has required you to get an approved resume, the same system will be in place. Does anybody have any questions on that? Perhaps you've heard this before. A first impression is a lasting one. So our department and your department, the accounting department, is very focused on having you make a great first impression to all of those great firms and other institutions out there that may be looking at your resume as a potential internship candidate and down the road, a job candidate. And for many, the first time they'll have a chance to see you is through your resume. They're not going to take a lot of time looking at it, but they do want to see something that's very professional, error-free, and an opportunity for you to stand out as a potential internship candidate or employee. Matt, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. So.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before I move on? Well, there's a lot here on this slide. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but please take a careful look as we go through. Number one, some of you maybe are used to using Google Docs and Pages, and we'll be very honest, neither one works very well with resumes. So we strongly encourage you to use Microsoft Word. If you don't have Microsoft Word on your home computer, you can download it for free from St. Joe's and continue to use it for free while you're a student here at the university. It's very simple. You just have to go to the student IT page and follow the simple instructions, and you'll have Word at your disposal. Remember that resumes are subjective. There's not one way to write a resume, but as we get closer to the end of the presentation, we'll give you a better idea of an idea that you could use in creating a resume. Always know what you're applying for, because your resume should be tailored to that position. So for example, if you know it's a particular firm that the resume is going to be used for, tailor it to that firm. And yes, it's perfectly acceptable and very common to have more than one resume, because you will be applying for more than one opportunity. However, in the end, all resumes need to be short, concise, consistent. For accounting majors, generally that means a one-page resume. Obviously, there are always some exceptions to the rule, but for most of you, one page is probably going to be the way to go. And both Matt and I can help you if you're having difficulty getting that page and a little down to one page. When you create your resume, even though there's many, many wonderful templates out there, we do not encourage you to just copy a template and plug in your information. Rather, look for a template that you like and make it your own on Microsoft Word. We also recommend using a chronological style reader-friendly resume. In simple terms, that means that any section of your resume that has dates should be in reverse order. The most recent is listed first, followed by the ones that are not as recent. A good example would be if you went to another college, such as Suffolk Community College, and you received an associate's degree. You would list St. Joseph's University first because it's more current. You would list Suffolk Community College second because it's not as recent, even though you may have an associate's degree. When deciding what size your text should be, we recommend using an 11 or 12. See what fits better on the page. 12 is ideal, but if it doesn't fit well on the page, maybe you want to go down to an 11. Try not to go much smaller, and definitely don't go larger than 12, except for your name. Your name should certainly be a little bit larger so it stands out, but that does not mean enormous. So maybe a 14 or a 16 would work well for your name. Obviously, no spelling, no grammatical errors. You want to stand out as a true professional. Use bold for items that need to stand out, but be consistent with the use of bold. Use bulleted statements, and we're going to get more to that in a few minutes on how to create those great bullet points so you really stand out. We know that bullet points are sometimes the most difficult parts of a resume to develop, so we're going to spend a little extra time on that in a few minutes. High quality paper. Excuse me. In most cases, you'll be emailing your resume, so paper is not an issue. But if you're going for an in-person interview, or somebody is asking you to submit a resume, or you go to an in-person career fair or job fair, and you're bringing your resume with you to give to potential employers or recruiters, then you certainly should use resume paper. It's a little bit heavier than standard copy paper. You can purchase it online. You could go across the street, grab a box, and you should be set for many years to come. They offer lots of colors. We would suggest use something kind of neutral, like a white or off-white, for the career field that you're planning to enter. We already mentioned the idea of one page. That's your goal. Always tailor it. Remember, your resume is never really done. As you keep adding things, you need to take off things. And that gets a little tricky at times, but we're here to help you when that becomes an issue. A resume, when you save it and email it into Matthew or myself, please make sure your name is part of your file name when saving it. Do not call it my resume number 22. Have your name inserted as part of the name, as part of the save. And as we've mentioned already, if you need your resume approved for 212 or 362, we will obviously review it for you and let you know if it needs edits. However, maybe you're a freshman. I know there's some freshmen with us today, and maybe you're not in accounting 212 yet, and you're not ready for an internship, but you're just here to learn how to create a resume. Feel free to upload it to Handshake, and we'll be more than happy to help you with your resume too. But just let us know when you upload it that it does not have to be approved for anybody in particular. Now, that's a lot of information, so I'll pause now. If anybody has any questions or anybody has any comments. Okay,
So I actually had something I wanted to mention is
great.
just so for all of you, it's all of this is it's a little overwhelming and it's kind of these very minute details. And so I kind of wanted to mention that all of this stuff does matter. And the reason here is that if you're applying for a position, right, they may have 100 resumes, 200 resumes, and they're trying to find any way that they can to pare that down. So if any of these things are off, or, it definitely, if sort of more than one of these are off, right, that's kind of a red flag. This person, they didn't pay close enough attention to this. And I have to find some way of narrowing down these 200, 300 resumes. So, it may seem kind of small and silly, but it can actually have a big impact on, if someone even continues to read your resume further, let alone, add it to sort of an interview pile. So definitely, very important.
Great. Thanks, Matt. For those people who haven't done a resume before, or even if you have, these are some areas that generally are included. Certainly you need your heading, you need your education, coursework. That's always an interesting one. Your department does require you to include this section on your resume. It will not be approved if you do not have relevant coursework on your section, in your resume, under a section titled relevant coursework. And that's per your department. And we'll explain more about the types of courses to include in a little while. Internship and work experience. If you've had both, that's great. If you haven't had an internship yet, hopefully everybody has some work experience to share. Very important, Matt was talking about how to stand out. A great way to stand out is with all those extra things that you do, either here on campus or in your community. So when you're looking for ways to stand out, are you a leader in a club? That's always a big thing that employers look for. Do you have the skills that go along with your degree? Can you speak another language other than English? Those are certainly important things that will help you stand out. So when doing the first part, the heading, there's at least 100 ways you can do this. But we don't want to give you 100 ways, so we're just giving you a few ways to look at. The first one is 5 lines. It takes up a lot of space, but if you're trying to fill the page because you don't have that many pertinent details, it might be good to use 5 lines. On the other hand, maybe you're trying to save space for all of your great bullet points for your various work or internship experiences. Then you want to downsize your heading. Here's an example with 3 lines. And if you need even more space, you could go down to 2 lines by putting your address, phone, and email all on the same line. But again, you want your name to stand out a little bit more. Many, many ways it can be done, but you definitely want to share the important information. We do recommend using your St. Joe's email for any internship opportunities. However, when you approach graduation, we recommend that you use a professional email that includes your name when searching for a job. 2 reasons. Number 1, your St. Joe's email will only be working for up to 6 months after you graduate. And number 2, it has the word student. So when you're looking for a job, you want to be seen as a professional. But when looking for an internship, it will be an experience as a current student. Any questions on that? And again, 1 phone number. You probably all have recordings on your phone. Please make sure the recording is professional. You certainly don't want an employer trying to reach out to you via phone and get an inappropriate message. As we mentioned before, education for most people would be the next section. It's really very easy for accounting majors. It's St. Joseph's University, Patchogue, New York. You're graduating in either January, May, or August. Those are the 3 choices. If you finish your coursework in December, the graduation date is January. If you finish the coursework in the spring, it's May. If you finish in the summer, it's August. You're all going for what's referred to as a Bachelor of Science, and your field is accounting. Your department requires that you include your GPA. It should be your CUME. So your GPA, including all of your semesters as a student at St. Joe's. If you have few honors, maybe only one, such as Dean's List, a bullet point right after the GPA is an effective way to include the information. However, if you have many honors and awards, then maybe you want to create a separate section and call it something like Honors and Awards, Achievements and Accolades. There's a lot of good descriptive titles that can be used. If you went to another school, we mentioned Suffolk County Community College before, and if you want to include it to show that you have an associate's degree, by all means, include it. However, if you went to another school and you did not get a degree, we don't recommend including it on your resume. And by the way, this formatting that you see here with the college, the location, and the date on one line and the degree below it is just one of many, many ways that you can include this information on your resume. If we have time later, we'll go through some other ways that it could be done. Questions, comments? To your experience, keep telling yourself, this is not a biography. This is a resume. By that, I mean it's not necessary to include every job you've ever had. It is important to include recent and or relevant experiences that you want to share with an employer. Now, as you look at the formatting here, you'll see it's a little different from the one on education, because we wanted to give you another way that it could be done. If you remember, we had three areas of information on the first line and the degree on the second for education. Here we're giving you another example. The employer, city and state, all on one line. Below it, the job title, and then your time frame or the dates of employment. Example, let's say you work across the street at King Cullen. It could be King Cullen, Patchogue, New York, cashier, May of 2021 to the present. And now you gave all that information for the employer to see. But the next part is even more important, and that would be your accomplishments or your achievements. And here you want to be as relevant as you can to the position that you're looking to attain. So you might say, well, King Cullen, how is that relevant to working in an accounting firm? It is relevant if you can show your transferable skills, communication, collaboration, leadership, using technology, solving problems, critical thinking. So you want to brainstorm and think about the things you're doing in your current or recent position. Obviously, if you're working in an accounting firm or a bank, it's a lot easier than if you're working at Applebee's or King Cullen. But you still need to include as best as you can your achievements. What did you do? How did you do it? And what were the results of your actions? How many bullet points? 3, 4, maybe up to 5, but certainly no less than 3. And again, you want to be careful, emphasize the most relevant achievements, and you want to try and keep this entire resume on one page. As I said at the beginning, creating these bullet points is perhaps the most difficult part of creating a resume. So we have something here for you to use. Hopefully it's helpful. If you remember RAP, result, action for problem or project, that's really going to be instrumental in helping you create strong achievement-based bullet points. Keep thinking, what was the result that you achieved because of your action for the problem or project that you had to deal with? Example, collaborated with accountants to generate an audit that accurately reflected the financial position of the company. That's a strong, solid bullet point. So if you're back over at King Cullen, collaborated with management and staff to ensure quality service to all store customers. That's what we mean by transferable skills. Again, it's going to be a lot easier if you're working in the field, which is your goal, but other jobs can supplement your resume for now until you get those more valuable and relevant experiences. And to give you a few other examples, one of which I kind of mentioned already, but look at the first one. A poor bullet point would be responsible for data entry. Doesn't really say anything. That's your responsibility. What did you really achieve? What you achieved is you entered data accurately and efficiently into a Lucian colleague to update student contact information. The other one, worked as part of a team, too weak, doesn't say anything. What did you achieve? You collaborated. Tell us the people you collaborated with and what were the results of your actions. Again, if you've never done a resume, this can be challenging, but once you start doing it, you'll find out it's not as difficult as it appears once you start brainstorming and think of all the things that you've done in your various experiences. I know this is important and it might be new for some of you, so I'll pause and see if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask. Anybody want to give us an example that maybe you have on your resume and you want to see if it sounds like something that would be worthwhile to include? Okay, I'll move on then. And again, you can still put questions in the chat box.
So Kevin, just one point I wanted to make about that was
Sure.
so you got to remember, right, the main reason for this is that an employer has a position, they want someone that can do certain things, right? Whatever the description is of the job. And what you want to be doing is thinking about, okay, what have I done that can match the types of things that they're looking for, right? So they want to be able to see, okay, like Kevin was saying, right? Yeah, they haven't collaborated in an accounting department, right? But they work really well with others, right? That's what that collaboration aspect is telling them, which means, okay, if they've done that before, right, then hopefully they can do that again, but in this accounting setting, right? So you really always want to be trying to think about who is my audience here, right? And how are they going to be looking at my resume and what I have to offer? So you could keep going.
Thank you. We mentioned action verbs, resume terms. This is a very short list. You can Google it to find more words. We always recommend using onetonline.org because you'll truly see great bullet points that are written for all careers under the heading of tasks. So certainly do take advantage of ONET, www.onetonline.org. And you'll have no trouble finding great ideas for bullet points, as well as the different types of verbs that are typically used to begin a bullet point with. By the way, with verb tense, you'll see these are all written in past tense. Students oftentimes, should I do my bullet points in present tense or past tense? Certainly, if it's a job that's past, you must use past tense. If it's a present job, present tense is acceptable, but you can also, if you choose, you can use past tense for your present jobs because you did it yesterday, you did it last week. So if you want to be consistent throughout your resume, yes, you can use past tense. You cannot use present tense consistently in your resume because of those past experiences.
Something else to mention there was just that as far as where you get those bullet points, so ONET is great, but another thing is if you're looking at a particular internship or job posting that you're interested in, right, you're going to be able to see these are the things that they're looking for someone to do. And so you want to read that job description very carefully, and then you can craft your bullet points and those action verbs based on what it is that, you know, that they're looking for. So that's a great way to kind of sort of think, okay, what are they looking for? And then what action verbs can I use that match the types of things that they want this candidate to do in the job?
Very important. You always want to match up. Now, if they're looking for ABC, give them ABC. Don't give them XYZ, because they won't see you as a good candidate. And that's where the research, as Matt was describing, is very, very significant to your internship and your job searches. Do that research so you know exactly what they're looking for, so you can tailor your resume to their needs. These are some other sections that oftentimes get included on a resume. I already mentioned honors and awards. Perhaps some of you have special certifications that are relevant to your search. Again, the key word is relevant. If you've been involved in your community and or on campus, absolutely include it. Employers do want to see that full person who not only is doing well academically, maybe has a job, but has also found time to develop professional skills through campus activities and community involvement. When you do a skills section, the focus should be on hard, measurable skills. And generally speaking, hard, measurable skills are technology and foreign languages. Stay away from including under skills, great communicator, team player. Those are soft skills. They can't really be measured. We don't encourage you to list them in the skills section. Focus more on computer and foreign languages. It's very important eventually, maybe some of you are already there, to get involved with professional affiliations, memberships, organizations, national associations that deal with finance and accounting. There's many of them out there. ONET has a tremendous list of them, and many of them have student memberships, which are very reasonably priced, and you have a chance to begin networking at a young age with people in your field. It's amazing how much you'll grow by being part of a professional organization. Volunteer, like community and campus activities, is another section that employers look for. Some people volunteer so extensively that you can create it on your resume and make it look like a job, but call it volunteer experience. If it's a short-lived volunteer experience, it can still be included on your resume, but including bullet points is not recommended. A few years back, because of COVID, we kind of ended study abroad, but study abroad is back. So if you have the opportunity, it will just add a tremendous amount to your resume. And many employers are looking for those people that have other experiences other than just being here on Long Island. Any questions on other sections that you may have thought about and you're not sure if you should include them on your resume? Sometimes we get a question, should I put my interests? I like to exercise and read. Well, it's not really going to be extremely relevant to your search. So we generally do not recommend it unless you need to fill up the page, but hopefully that's not going to be the case.
So just one comment on that is, you want to think, right, at your time here at St. Joe's, when you list your degree on there, and even if you put relevant coursework, right, that's not really going to take up much space. So, what you really want to be doing is adding to that by getting so involved and doing things like internships, having, a part-time job, anything like that. because you're looking to, right, fill, in all likelihood, right, you're trying to fill one page, and, you know, you want to have much more than your degree. You want to have, you know, great experiences that you can, you know, that you can detail there, because that's really what's going to set you apart. You know, so many people can go to school, have a degree in accounting, that's great, but so does all of these other students, right, that have you know, that have a resume that have submitted. So what I, you know, what I've done as a student, right, the internships I've you know, that I've been a part of, the clubs that I'm involved in, right, all of that, that's really what's going to differentiate you.
Great, thank you. Here's just some examples to shorten or lengthen your resume. There are obviously more things that could be done, but this is just some things to think about to try and work it out so you have a complete one-page document. And by the way, when we speak about a complete one-page document, when you look at it when it's all done, do you have text in all 4 quadrants? What I mean by that is draw an imaginary line vertically and horizontally to divide your page into 4 sections. And do you have text in all 4 sections, or is everything just on the left side? So you do want to give it that nice professional look by trying to what we refer to as balance the page. So Matt's going to share something with us.
All right, there we go. So can everyone see these 2 resumes there?
Good. Okay,
right.
so everybody can see.
So yeah, so if you want to take a look, so just who would you hire right off the bat? Who are you going to keep reading? John or Jane?
Jane.
Okay, so why do you say Jane?
It looks neater.
Right, so more kind of more professional. It should be a lot easier to read, right? Everything is sort of uniform here, whereas here it's kind of all over the place. You have bullet points in different areas. You have a bunch of different things that are, some things are bold, some are not. This is all off. This is 2 pages, right? So when, you know, when you are working on your resume, right, if I want you to, if you take anything away, right, think about this and try and think, okay, does mine look like this, or does it look more like this, right? So you really want to be trying to make sure that that you are matching, to some extent at least, Jane, right? And the other reason to do this is that, okay, you know, you're new at writing a resume, that's fine. You know, this looks all right, it's, you know, it's okay, it has some of the information that we're talking about. The problem is that when you go and submit this to an employer, right, I went in and I marked this up with the typical feedback that I would put on a resume, and this is just sort of a fake one that I made up here, right? This is what an employer is going to see, all this red, and in all likelihood, they may not even get this far down, right? So they'll take one look at, you know, and just move on, because they only have so many, you know, they only have so much time, and so they have so many resumes, they have to find a way, you know, to kind of weed people out. So, you know, so you really want to make sure, right, that you're not having something like this, and you want to aim for something more like this, right? And that's just down to format. We're not even necessarily getting into, you know, the bullets, but even if you look here, right, these are pretty short, they're not very specific, there is only one per position, right? Whereas here it's laid out nicely, and, you know, if we were to spend the time to read through them, you would see that, you know, they're much better formed. So, you know, just something to think about as you're writing your resume is, do I look like this, or is mine looking like this? So let's try for Jane. So,
And when we look at the one on the right, the one that's titled Jane, I was mentioning before honors and awards. If you have multiple, you may want to create a section. Notice the years are included as well. Sometimes students want to know a dean's list. Should I put the semesters and the years, We recommend only putting the years, otherwise it gets too wordy with all the semesters. Coursework, it says optional on this example, but for your program, especially in 362 or 212, it is not optional. For other accounting students, it might be optional, but not for 212 and not for 362. And here are some examples: managerial, principles of federal taxation. So when you're writing the courses, write down the full name of the course. Don't abbreviate, don't put the course numbers, don't put any dates, don't put any grades. The name of the course is what the employers want to see, because in many cases, you're sharing this information because while you don't have a lot of real world accounting experience, you do want to showcase your academic accounting experience. So your department has required this on all 362 and 212 resumes. For others, we would still recommend it unless maybe this is your first or second semester and you haven't had a chance to include very much yet, but eventually you will. Any questions, comments? We have a few last things to go over. Anything? Okay, we'll move on then.
So, Kevin, I think you may have to go back and share your screen again. I'm not sure.
Okay, let me see where I am.
Yep.
So coming soon, next week, next Monday, February 13th, same time, same channel, the accounting, interviewing, and professional presentation. This is also required for anybody who's planning to do an internship, Accounting 362, and anybody who's currently taking Accounting 212. So this would also be required. So you do want to make sure you register early on Handshake, and so that you can attend it next week at this time. It will also be a virtual presentation. However, we realize that sometimes you still may need to make an appointment. So we encourage you, as soon as you're ready, to have your resume reviewed, approved. If you feel comfortable with your resume and you want to upload it to Handshake for us to review it, great. We'll be more than happy to do that for you. If you feel, you know what, I have some questions, I'm still not sure, is it possible I can meet with somebody and go over this with you? Absolutely. All you need to do is schedule an appointment in Handshake. The appointments are usually around 30 to 45 minutes. We can do them virtually, or we can do them in room E301 in O'Connor Hall. But we do recommend that you make the appointment through Handshake and upload resumes through Handshake. And I think Matt's going to talk a little bit more about that in case you're not sure about how to upload.
Right. So so you see there, right? So we can help you with many different things. So yes, resume, but also cover letter. If anyone's looking at grad school, right? If anyone's kind of, maybe a little iffy about their major or anything like that. So we can, we can help you a lot with different career development issues. So so you'll see here, right? So you thankfully were all able to get into the workshop today, so you should be somewhat familiar with Handshake already. But what I'll do is I'm just going to quickly walk you through how you would make an appointment, and then if you are having any issues with making an appointment, right, then you can you can email us, and we'll try and troubleshoot and help you get something set up. But let me just share my screen here, and I will show you how it is that you would go about making an appointment. All right, so we're all familiar with this screen. So what you're going to want to do is you'll log in to your SJNY. All right, and then what you're gonna want to do is head over to Handshake, right? So that's that blue square. You got kind of the two stick figures there shaking hands, right? So we're going to Handshake. Okay. Now, so right now I'm signed in as though I'm a student. And so what we're going to want to do here is if you're looking to make an appointment with us, you would just head over to the top right, Career Center. Then you're going for appointments right here. Then you can schedule a new appointment. You'll put down, so let's say you're a sophomore. Right now, because we're both Long Island and Brooklyn, just be careful that you don't accidentally pick Brooklyn, unless you happen to be a Brooklyn student. And then you would just scroll down here, right? And so you can see we can help you with cover letter writing, grad school planning, a personal statement for grad school, job search strategies, obviously resume writing, and a critique. If you have an interview coming up, we can help you prep for that. Trying to come up with a career plan, right? We can do a mock interview with you, to try and help you get ready. So, so you'll go in, right? So for example, let's say we do resume writing and you want to meet with us. Okay, hey, here's Kevin, right? Tuesday the 7th, right? We can make an appointment. Or if you want to meet with me, you can make an appointment. And you can do this by so you can even choose here, right, when it comes time to actually pick, right? So let's say we made an appointment with Kevin, you can have it be face-to-face, right? That I would say is probably ideal, just to make sure that you're getting the most out of the appointment. But then, if not face-to-face, virtual is great. And we can do them, by email and by phone. But I would say you probably are going to get the most out of it by if you were, if you're doing it either virtually or face to face, so that it can be more of a conversation. But if this is just kind of a, quick once over, something like that, email is great for that as well. So now while I'm at it, what I wanted to do is just show you how you would go about actually submitting your resume if you need to get it approved for your class, right? Or even if you just wanted to have it uploaded, right? And you're just asking for someone to look at it. So what you would do here is when you first log in, right, you're going to see your profile here. And so what I can do is I'm also going to send these instructions out to everyone that attended, but just so you can see it, right? So you're going to want to go over here, right on the top right. You're going to want to go to my documents, and then you can just go to add a document. And in the document name here, right, please just indicate, not just your name, but also what the resume is for. So for example, right, if you're taking accounting 212, you want to make sure that that's there. And now let's say you did that, right? So let's say you did that. You added this document, right? And okay, maybe you forgot to fill that in as far as the document name. That's okay. Just put it in over here instead, right? And so you would just write in this comment, I'm submitting this because I'm taking ACC 212, right? And then we're done. So, you can post that comment, right? And then that way we'll see it, we'll get a notification, and we will review it. Then also just very quickly, I just wanted to show you a few other things that Handshake has to offer. So there are loads of jobs that are constantly getting added on here. You can fill out a profile. Handshake can, they can recommend certain jobs to you based on your major, based on your year, right? You can find internships, you can find jobs. So here's an accounting intern position, right? Here's an accounting assistant. That may be a good way to kind of get your foot in the door. And then also what you'll see here are events. So if you go to this top right, and what you're going to find is that we have here, right, where we'll be seeing all of you next, hopefully, which is accounting, interviewing, and professionalism.